God said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. And so Paul says, now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. You know something, from Paul's perspective, he had only two options. Just two options. One option is that he keeps having this problem, this thorn in the flesh, and he becomes less useful to God in ministry. If he keeps having this thorn in the flesh, he becomes less useful to God in ministry. That's option one. And option two is that God removes the thorn in the flesh, God removes this problem, and Paul is now more empowered and more useful to God. These are the two options. I'm just guessing from Paul's perspective. Either God will keep this, but if God keeps this problem, I'm not going to be so powerful. I'm not going to be so empowered. I'm not going to be that useful. But if God removes this, I know that I can be more useful for the kingdom. And so Paul goes to God. 3 times Paul begs God. But you know, there's a third option that Paul probably didn't think of. And only God knew that there was a third option, and God chose the third option. What's the third option? Third option is God saying to Paul, I'm going to allow this problem for now. I'm going to allow this thorn in the flesh right now. I'm going to keep you weak. But through your weakness, my grace will empower you. Through your weakness, my grace will strengthen you. And your usefulness to me is going to abound. It's going to increase. But what's amazing, what's really miraculous, is that Paul doesn't just accept this. Paul ends up liking this. Paul doesn't just accept this response from God. Paul ends up being glad about this. Because in verse 9, he says, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses. Why? So that the power of Christ may rest upon me. I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Paul didn't accept it first. Paul didn't like it at first, but eventually, by God's grace, Paul accepted this tough answer. Paul was willing to accept this new arrangement. But not only did he accept it, he could boast about it. He could brag about it. He could say, because of this weakness, God's power is going to go forth in greater measure.